Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I am Dean Seddon, the host of Dean Seddon Podcast, of course. And I am here with Lilach Bullock. And I've known her for, it seems like forever on LinkedIn, but we've only properly chatted maybe in the last year, actually, like proper chatted, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to put the world to rights on all sorts of stuff. But Lilach, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your journey, what you've been up to, all that kind of stuff, and give people an intro who maybe they haven't met you before?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really, really excited to be chatting to you, especially about LinkedIn. So I started my business journey 19 years ago. I'm showing my age now. I started as a virtual PA when there were no virtual PAs, and this was back in England. And I sold the business within 2 years. We had offices. I went to Downing Street for Best Mompreneur of the Year and had quite a lot of success. On the back of that, I then launched a social media marketing tool, which was an epic fail. Very long story, but I managed to raise a lot of money. And anyway, the product didn't come into fruition. I even had a big launch party in Chelsea with quite a lot of high-profile business people and celebrities. And it was supposed to be the next best thing. And it wasn't. Anyway, but what it did do was it catapulted me into the tech space. And I launched a digital marketing social media agency and worked with clients all over the world, a lot of tech companies as well. And then I gradually pivoted from digital marketing into content and online PR agency. And back in 2013, I was listed in Forbes as the 14th most social media power influencer. And that transformed my career, my business overnight. I was able to work with some really large leading brands like IBM, Oracle. I've even worked with Forbes and written content for them as well, and Twitter, when it was called Twitter. So I went down the influencer path, and up until COVID, I was also a professional speaker, so traveling all over the world and talking about everything from digital to content, website conversion to business best practices. Fast forward to today, and I still do a lot of consulting, so digital marketing, website conversion, anything to do with online marketing. And also I have my website, and that drives me a passive income where we can talk later about content and things like that. And I review lots of different tools and tech. And so that's
cool. Me. So it's interesting. We've both been in the kind of social media world for since it started, really. We're both giving our age away now. But we've been in it since it started, and it's evolved massively. And I often say to people, the gold rush is over on social media. In the sense of a lot of the stuff that was easy has now been done, dusted, and now it's a lot more tough. What have you noticed that has changed in social media over the last, has it really been 13, 14 years? Yeah, longer.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I totally 100% agree. It's interesting because just the other night I was at a friend's and she was talking about her Instagram. And, she's struggling to get more followers. And I said, well, you need to be, commenting and doing all these different things. And she said, oh, my God, it's going to take me hours. I said, yeah, exactly. And it's really evolved. I mean, I have to say, and I'm very honest and open, that my success, I could not duplicate it today. It was because I was an early adopter of social media. And I think when you're the first to the party, particularly when it was less saturated, less competitive, less noisy. It was like a breath of fresh air. I mean, do you remember back in the day with Facebook fan pages, you could message all the people who liked your Facebook. You could, everyone saw it. And now the reach is, if you're lucky, 1%,
Yeah, everybody's doing the at everyone in the Facebook groups and everything. Because I can remember like Facebook, everybody said Facebook groups are game changing. And now they're like ghost towns because it's, everything gets harder the more it develops.
Yeah, and I think we've seen such a fast growth because of COVID. It put everybody online. And also there's been so many layoffs, particularly in the tech space. And a lot of people are creating businesses as well. So the last 3 to 4 years, things have totally transformed, and it is so competitive and so noisy. And I feel really sad for brands and entrepreneurs who don't have already, a following or a network, because it's really challenging to get results. You can gain things, and I think that's a very interesting conversation. But I think actually getting an ROI, as in money, which is what we all want, is really tough online today.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm prolific with my LinkedIn content, but for the last few months I've been telling people that content alone will not do it. It's just not reliable. It's not predictable. The algorithm can get in the way. And it is a mix of content, engaging people, and actually starting conversations. But I read something recently, and when you read something at first instance, it kind of hits you and you get like almost a bit offended. Do you ever have that scenario where you read something and it kind of like knocks you and like, oh, I don't like this. And then I started to read it and it was, is social media content a pyramid scheme? Right? And I read it and went, and the guy was arguing that most of the people doing really well in the social media content people are people teaching people how to do social media content.
Yes.
In other words, it's not like I'll excuse I would say this, wouldn't I? I'll exempt myself from this, but it's kind of true. The people with the biggest, ignoring your kind of big celebrities and your big, entrepreneurs and all that kind of stuff, the people who've actually done something and got name recognition, the people who are blowing up on social media right now are people who help people with social media.
Yes, exactly. That's very true. But what I'm seeing is that they're certainly generating more engagement, that's for sure. But we never truly know if it's actually generating
any money.
An ROI for them. But for sure it is. And I think it's very frustrating. And what happens is, and also they have to have high engagement, because otherwise they don't look like they know what they're doing. So it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, and they're gaming the situation by being part of, a lot won't say pods or whatever, but it's certainly an engagement group, let's be honest.
Yeah, they got, I see people, your social media is your social media, but some of these influencers are, they're saying, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And they're having high moral stands on certain things. But then behind the scenes, all the influencers are backing each other up and collabing. But then when Mr. Small Business decides I'm going to ask 5 or 6 people to help my posts out, they've got a major issue with that.
Yeah. Look, first of all, I think you and I are very aligned in this. I wrote a post recently about, who makes these stupid rules. It's a load of BS, and it's very, very unfair. And I think it just highlights that these people are not true business owners, because if they were, in my experience, I'm a maverick. And I've worked with so many successful entrepreneurs and business owners. I've been in business nearly 20 years, again, showing my age here. And everyone I've worked with who's like really successful has been a maverick. They don't make, the rules and things like that. And the fact that they are just highlights that, these are not what I call true professional business owners. They've gamed a system. They've got a huge reach on platforms. That doesn't mean they're getting money in their bank.
Yeah, well, I was with a group of people 2 weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, and they've never really posted before in their lives, and they said, "So what do I do now?" I said, "Well, the posting helps you build your visibility. That's great, and that's it's there, but don't rely on that. Go and build relationships. Go and build real relationships with your ideal customers." The people on the platform who are the people you can help. Go and build relationships with them, and let the content just be a little bit of awareness. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to try and generate leads from content, because one day you could have leads and you could put the same post out and get like 50 leads, say, ridiculous numbers. And then the next day, you barely even get 100 impressions. It's so unpredictable.
Mm.
So you need if you're building a business, you need a system. And content is king in one sense. But if you can't control who sees it, it's like dangerous. And then your point about you don't know how much money they're making. I actually got my hands on a study by Goldman Sachs, and they literally broke down, after going through a load of content creators and influencers and the works. And the average, it's estimated there's 50 million content creators on planet Earth right now, 50 million. And the average earnings of all of those 50 million is $50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about that, you go, wow, that's a lot from creating content. Is it? When it takes you 10 to 15 hours and you spend an hour a day replying to every comment and then a couple of hours commenting on random people's stuff to get their attention, you're doing all of that to make $50,000 a year, which is what, 37 grand, something like that.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, so what percentage of people make more than that? Well, the top 1% of content creators make more than $100,000.
Yeah.
So when you look at it as an opportunity and go content, there's that real warm, cuddly feeling that we get when we have a post that does well. That kind of like dopamine rush that we all love, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do, don't we? We love it when we get a big post, right? But when you translate that into a business model, salespeople spamming make more money.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm just saying when you weigh them up, spamming makes more money than that.
It's very true, and I think they're chasing their ego. Look, I as an influencer, although my influence has certainly diminished over the years, I'm very aware of the whole stroking the ego and vanity metrics and things like that, and I'm also aware that it's your lurkers that are your buyers, and if I like and comment on one of a creator's posts, who's got a huge following, I have no interest in buying from them. And probably 99% of the people who are liking and commenting are doing it purely to get the likes, comments back.
Steal the audience.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a silly game that actually the only people who are winning, for example, is the social network, LinkedIn or whatever, because they're getting the boost and stuff. And I think, for all your listeners, don't compare yourself to what other people are getting. And it can be very disheartening to not get a huge reach. And as you say, the magic happens in building the relationships. And I think also this is what's very different about social media. You said what we've seen the changes here is that the majority of people are selling and not buying. And that's the biggest change that we're seeing on social media. It's very rare that I buy something on LinkedIn today. Very, very rare. And everyone's selling. And it's, how do you find the right person who can buy? And that's where things get really, really tricky, and why people get so disheartened, because the numbers are so much bigger now. You have to reach out to so many more people than you used to, because everybody is selling and very few are buying.
And that's where the power of building relationships really does kick in, because when people are in that kind of buying mode, it's about who do you trust? It's about who do you have confidence in? And, I've seen, and hopefully I'm not going to get grumpy here, but I've seen a degeneration in the quality of content that's actually going out on LinkedIn, where a lot of it is nonsense. Basically, it's serious. It might be funny to have a look at it, but I've seen stuff, and it's like, I've seen this post a million times. It's clear that you're just playing a game. Do you know what I mean? Where you see everybody going, I'm going to share, or it's almost the same post, but because it's performed for somebody else, they do it, classic carousels with here's the 10 secrets. And it's like, serious people are not going to play with this. So it feels like we're seeing a lot of content that's appealing, marketing people selling marketing to marketers, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, no, totally. And also there's a lot of personal content as well. And people are just so desperate for reach that they post, pictures of their baby or whatever to generate more engagement. It's like a game, and and these carousels. And yes, I mean, everyone's loving them and liking, commenting, but are people actually buying from them? Because, and I think that is the big challenge right now.
I said to somebody the other day, I said, if you post lots of selfies and tell your life story on LinkedIn, right, people will know who you are, but will have no idea why. And you will basically be the Katie Price of LinkedIn. Yeah, Jordan, I think her name is. Nobody, well, we don't all know, but some people have got to the point, or the Paris Hilton of LinkedIn, where they're famous, but nobody knows why they're famous. And
I can think of so many creators, like really large creators. I won't say names. I have no idea what they do. I have no idea how they help. And you can see like all the people liking, commenting. And also that's another sign that you can see that it's all these stupid little pods or whatever you want to call them, because there's no controversial. Everyone's just agreeing and saying, oh, yes, that's amazing. And it's like, well, is it? And I think that's, like, if I comment on something, I have a comment on something because I genuinely love it and think it's high value, or I try and find things that actually I disagree with because I don't want to be, their fan club.
Yeah, I mean, the worst one I'm seeing at the moment is, and it is like a plague a little bit, is the AI comments. And they're all very optimistic. There's far too many exclamation marks. And I know I get plagued with them, of people commenting, and what they're doing is they're commenting for reach. They're not commenting because they want to. I wouldn't even mind, to be honest with you, if I said, right, I'm going to have a little secret group and we're all going to club together and support each other's posts because we're helping each other out. You don't even care about that to some extent. If they're honest about it. I got somebody who messaged me on LinkedIn. They got 175,000 and said, I'd love to connect and chat sometime. Here's my WhatsApp. So I messaged him on the WhatsApp and said, yeah, it'd be great to connect. I actually thought naively they actually wanted to connect, compare some notes, do some stuff together. And all I get from this person now is their WhatsApp broadcast of their LinkedIn post every day. No replies ever. I just get, here's my latest post for today. And it's like, I don't mind helping and collaborating with people, secret collaborating, if it's actually based on a relationship. And we know each other, we get on with each other, and we're helping each other. I don't mind that. And some people have said to me, do you condone pods? I don't care. But at least be honest about it. Some of these influencers saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And then they're emailing their list to say, here's my latest post. Or they're sending out a Slack channel broadcast to all their networks saying, here's my post. And it's like, well, that's kind of pod too. So don't people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. And I have to say, what you're saying about the AI comments, I actually disagree, and I'll tell you why. Everyone is saying exactly what you're saying, but actually I think very differently. And the reason is that there's a lot of people who don't have the time and also can't write that well. So what AI is doing is it's allowing them to join the commenting. I think they should be more smarter and more strategic about it and, make it less obvious, obviously. But I think, if it means that they can comment and engage, go for it. And also, I would argue this, and this is very rude, and I don't know if I can say it because it's a bit dirty, but have you seen Sex and the City?
Oh, I've seen the films. I don't think I've maybe watched a handful of the series.
I don't know if I can get away with saying this, so edit it out. But there's this scene where Miranda is talking about giving head, and she was saying, "Oh, I only give head to get head back," sort of thing. And I think, sorry, it's very rude, and apologies if you need to edit that out.
So I'm sure people can.
But my point is that most people comment to get something back. It's very rare that someone will comment just because, oh, I'm commenting. Like, if I said to you, okay, instead of spending an hour a day commenting, you can spend an hour a day reading or walking or going to the beach or spending time with your family. What would you choose? We're commenting for selfish reasons. And I think I'm very honest and open about that, which is probably why I don't comment enough. Because I don't have time to do it, and I'm not investing enough time in it. And I probably should. But I'm only commenting because I want people to see my profile. I'm being brutally honest here.
No. It's a fair crack. And, when I'm teaching people to social sell, I'm telling people to comment on prospects posts to try and attempt to build a relationship. So you're absolutely right there. I think everybody's commenting for their own benefit in some way. I'm sure there are some people who actually comment because they disagree or you've given them a great idea, but that's the minority, I think.
I think so. I mean, look, I'm leveraging social for business purposes. The truth is, I hate social media now. It's gone so... I mean, that's the truth. It's so noisy. It's so busy. It's so saturated. Everyone's saying the same BS. It's a time suck, and the ROI is diminishing every month. You have to do more every month as well. So, I went on a digital detox a month ago for 2 weeks because I was reporting someone on Facebook and they blocked me. And Facebook basically blocked me for 2 weeks. And I was very upset and hurt at the time. But then I decided, you know what? Because I normally multi-purpose my content. I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to take a 2-week digital detox. And I adored it. I absolutely adored it. It was beautiful. I didn't keep going like this with my phone. You know how you automatically move your hand to check things. Yeah. And I was able to create a ton of content for my website, which does bring me an ROI. And it was really lovely. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm going to do it again for sure.
Well, I think we agree on the AI comments in the sense of there's no problem with using AI as an aid, but if you use it blind, it doesn't look great, and it looks overly optimistic. I think AI is just too cheery for me.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. I think so. I mean, I think people just need to get smarter at it, and eventually, you won't be able to tell who's using it and who isn't. I think that's what will come eventually.
But something you have said there has really hit home with me, because it's something I'm saying, despite me being social selling and LinkedIn, you do not want to put your business in a place where you're reliant on a tech company for success, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, TikTok. You don't want to be in that place. And I've been telling people for a long time, and more of the content creators now seem to be picking up on this, is you need to build like your network or your list, email list, or something that's outside of the social media bubble. Because, let's face it, right? I've got 60-odd thousand followers right now. Something could happen. LinkedIn might fall out of love with me and I get disappeared. Like in the Soviet era where people would just vanish, right? I could get disappeared. And so I lose my account, or I lose my reach, or I say something and it gets me restricted or something like that. That could happen. And we see that happening to other people in, other spheres. But that could happen and my business is done. Totally done. And that's why, for me, I've never put myself in a place, yes, I'm LinkedIn and social selling, where I'm reliant on the technology platform itself to generate business, in that I'm not reliant on content or an algorithm. And I've purposely, from day one on LinkedIn, built an email list from day one. So all the way back when, I think it was 2016 when I first took LinkedIn seriously. I've been building an email list since then. Yeah, and we've now got about nearly 300,000 people on our email list.
That's awesome. That's a really good. My email list is only about 20,000. How have you got to 300,000? That's very cool.
So, prolific lead magnets. So, what I did is I had the choice of, do I scale with ads or do I scale with people?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to scale with people. So whereas your classic LinkedIn trainer is a solopreneur, and they've got ad campaigns and what have you running to amp it up, I scaled with people. So I encouraged hired people and said, right, full-time people, I want you to grow your network and do what I do. And they do what I do as well, building my list and showing other people how to do it, LinkedIn coaches. So I have I have to remember the numbers here, about 35 LinkedIn coaches that work with me full-time.
All growing your email list.
All growing the email list. All teaching the same methodology. And
so that just highlights what you said earlier. Sorry to interrupt you. Like how you were saying that the people who perform the best are the ones who are teaching others how to do it. Mm-hmm. And that just highlights what you just said because your email list is so vast.
Yeah. But what we've not done is focused on content being the primary thing because we know how vulnerable our business model would be if that was taken away from us. Because, you've got a lot of followers. I've got a lot of followers. We know that the algorithm doesn't let us reach all of them. And if I was sat here today with 200,000 followers or 300,000 followers on LinkedIn, and then they decide we're going to change things, and my business was reliant on that bit, I could find, as people have found on Instagram, as people have found on Facebook, that reach gets cut and cut and cut until at some point you cannot make the same gains that you could when, you had a similar number of followers 6 months ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people are leaving Facebook and or still using Facebook, but not as excessively. And I think that's why LinkedIn is now so saturated. Because it's the only network, obviously YouTube as well, that's still performing for people. But definitely, I think I've always said for years to create your own assets, to control them. It's really, really important to have an email list. I'm also a huge fan of having a website, and my website saved me during COVID. And you're at the mercy of the platforms. They're always changing. I think when was it? This week they made a change about how when you send personal connections, you can't send text with it now. You can just click invite. Did you see that?
Yeah. I got confused by that at first because it was like, what? That's limiting to you 100 connections per week. 10 connections per month. And I was like, no, that's not happening. But they are limiting the number of personalized messages you can send without a subscription.
Yeah.
Which will push some free accounts to go, if I want to use the platform, I have to pay. All social media is going that way because the ad money will only go so far. But it will get harder. That's how this thing rolls. And it will be about the quality of the relationships you forge going forward. It won't be about the volume of relationships. It will be the quality of the relationships you forge. And I think that will level the playing fields a little bit. Because you'll remember this, you could put anything on LinkedIn in 2018 and it would blow up. You could literally put absolutely anything on LinkedIn, maybe 2017. It didn't matter what it was. You could put it up and it would blow up. And that's a little bit harder now than it was back then. But, it's just tougher. It's just tougher to make it work.
Yeah, because every day there's new people joining and every day people are fighting for space and people tend to like and comment on the same people. They're not reaching new people. So all the top big creators, people are gravitating towards them because they want the reach and to be seen. Like I experimented with it for about a week, 2 weeks ago, a few months ago. Because people were saying, if you want more followers, just, like and comment on the big creators. So I thought, okay, let's see what happens. And I did it. And I got more followers and stuff. But I mean, they're crappy quality. They're not going to buy, and they're certainly not liking, commenting on my stuff as a result.
No.
So it's just a game. Do you want to play the game, or do you want to focus on growing your business and doing the right things?
So given your journey in social media, you're still doing it, but not doing it in the same way as you used to, because you're doing it more as presence and relationship building more than, trying to go viral. What are you doing right now, and what are you seeing as the future of social media? Any things that you're seeing that you think this is an interesting development?
Well, that's a great question. I think, I'm still posting content. I'm doing a lot of experimenting. I've been posting daily content recently, and then the last week or so I've decided to drop it and not do it so daily, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Weekends, I'm definitely seeing more engagement. Less people are on there. So I can post something and I'll get just the same amount of engagement as I would in the week or more without having to do any liking or commenting or any other effort. So I'm definitely seeing that, because obviously there's less people online. I think the key is to experiment. I mean, every so often I'll post carousels and I'll invest time in them. They do generate more reach, but they don't generate any more people messaging in my inbox. And quite frankly, I would prefer the time to create a carousel, to create a blog post, because that's more evergreen and I'll get better results from it. But I think it's just about experimenting. It's always changing. I'm looking into seeing, what do you think about LinkedIn groups? Are you getting anywhere with that, or are they dead as well?
So weirdly, in the last year, I've had about 19 million impressions on content from LinkedIn groups. Huge amount of content impressions from LinkedIn groups. But a lot of the features of it is it's a bit like Facebook groups. They're really hard to get going and they're really hard to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole community spirit of what a group should be is hard to create. And I think it's because the group owner features are so limited. Like, if you join a group, you should have the ability to ping something to the members to say, you've joined the group, we're going to be doing this activity this week, or something like that, so you can keep people energized. But they took all of that away to prevent spam, basically.
Yeah.
So it's almost like trying to run another social media account all the time.
Yeah. I don't have a group on LinkedIn. I do on Facebook, but it's pretty dormant. Every so often I'll post something out, but I just found it was so much work and effort, and I wasn't getting enough ROI from it. I sometimes think, should I rejig it up? But it's a lot of work, and I know a lot of people struggle with it.
And if you don't go into this understanding how much work, the idea of owning a group sounds really, really, really exciting. And there's somebody in my space I respect. We might not agree on everything that, about social selling and LinkedIn, but there's somebody on LinkedIn I actually respect, a competitor, shall we say, I respect, who has spent years building a great group. And I joined it and did the disclaimer. I've said, I'm not here to fish. I'm just here to kind of observe, really, if that's all right. And they built a massive group. And I thought it was brilliant. And I was jealous of it because it was like, wow, this must be something. And it was thriving. And then some things changed maybe a year and a half ago. And I was like, what's happened to this group? It's like, I don't get any notifications anymore. And then you don't get a notification for a while, and then you forget about it, and then you don't remember it exists. And then you go back and look and go, oh, it exists.
Is this Facebook or LinkedIn?
This is Facebook, but it's a competitor in my space who has
they've really dropped. I mean, my Facebook group, it was so much work. I was having to pay a VA to help me manage it because it was a lot. And I'll tell you something interesting. When I first started to do that at everyone for a week, the first week when it happened, I got excited and I did it every day. I lost 1,000 members in a week because I was doing at everyone, because people don't want the notifications. They don't want to be tagged. every so often I use it now. But I think the groups, people are chatting. There's not much business. And it's great for list building, really good for list building. But I think it just boils down to the fact that so many people are selling and very few people are buying today. And you just have to find the people who are buying or build the relationships for when they are ready to come to you. And I think that's the hardest thing that we're seeing on social media right now.
Well, here's a really interesting trend that's happening on Instagram, and Instagram just came out and said this. I can never remember his name. Adam, the guy, the Instagram guy, I can't remember his name, but he, CEO of Instagram, and he said more content is now being shared in the DMs than in the grids and feeds. So more conversations are happening more than content. So more people are chatting to each other and sharing tips and tricks and stuff in messages than at any point in Instagram's history. And I think that's true of most social channels. Yes, there's a whole load of spammy sales pitchy stuff going on, but there's more people actually sharing conversations and building relationships in those messages inboxes now than ever before, which is crazy that for Instagram to admit that feed content, reels, grid posts, all that kind of stuff are being surpassed by content being shared in broadcast groups and stuff like that is mammoth.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And it's also, I'm seeing a lot of people using stories more than posts as well. But it's also an age thing as well. I mean, I must admit, I don't use Instagram that much for business. I tend to just go on it because I like looking at certain things and things like that. But my daughter, for example, my daughter, she doesn't use Facebook at all. So it's going to be, I think the next 2-3 years, we're going to see some really massive changes and a lot of pay to play. I mean, LinkedIn are talking, they're putting, what's the word? Structures in place, which clearly they're going to do it. Elon Musk is talking about making Twitter X, to pay. And I think it's because, the ads, people are not spending as much on ads. They're frustrated with the results they get, and they're just not attracting enough businesses now.
I think the ad side, you're absolutely right. I mean, you can't, we've gone through a period of relatively steep growth in social media that's now starting to, that it's slowing down, shall we say, because you can't just have infinite growth in social media. You can't have infinite growth in ad sales. It just doesn't work like that way. So ads get more expensive, and which, knocks some people out of the market. And Elon Musk really opened the floodgates. Despite everybody criticizing him, he brought the first, LinkedIn brought the first pay to play with their subscriptions, but he broke it more mainstream that everybody has to pay to use social media. Facebook wasn't a million miles away with, the verification thing that basically Elon made it easy for them. And LinkedIn goes, well, hang on a minute, we can do that too. Yeah. So why would, if you're a big tech company going, we've got millions and millions of users here, we've almost got a captive market where you can't afford not to be on it. Can we get a couple of quid a month out of, tens of millions of users and limit the functionality? And basically, we've just replaced our ads.
Yeah, I do think there's going to be some big changes in social media. I think people are getting very frustrated, disappointed. It's a real time sucker, and the results just are not what they were. And if you look at it, on a timeline chart, each month you're having to spend more time and you're making less as a result. I think things are going to go full circle. I think we're going to have new networks, or people will start to create their own networks with smaller amounts of people, because we talk about building relationships, but let's be honest. How many relationships can you build, and how many do you remember? If you're speaking with 100 people every week, which ones are you going to remember? And also, so many people are doing the same things. So who do you refer? Who do you recommend? Who do you choose to use? And I think we're going to go totally full circle and go back to smaller networks and communities, because I think that's part of the problem now. It's too big.
Yeah. You can only, as somebody said, I don't know where this comes from, but you can only sustain about 100 to 150 relationships at the top end. That's the human capacity for managing different relationships. And I think about that and go, I have no idea how I would manage and sustain 150 relationships. It's like, that's a lot of people to try and touch base with and keep some degree of connection with. That's a lot. But I think you're right. I think it has to be about the quality of your, this is me and you sat here with thousands and thousands of people in our network. So it's like pot calling kettle black. But I think it is like we do have to kind of focus on the relationships we've built and deepen them. And your post the other day about checking in with people that you've known for a long time and how that relationship's been cemented over years, I thought that was pretty cool about, the observations you made about how you can plant relationships and even like relationships like keep going, even when you're just, you think you're just sending emails out to people, sharing useful things, that some people are having major relationships with you that you didn't know were still there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. And I think, when I look at the relationships that I have with people, they tend to be repeat people. So like, let's say I have a one-to-one with someone and I've never met them before and we've not been engaging in each other's content and we don't really know each other that well. The reality is, unless I nurture and build on that relationship, which takes a huge amount of time when you've got lots of people to talk to, I won't remember their name. I won't remember what they do. And that one-to-one is gone. So the question is how do you build, really meaningful relationships where you can refer or recommend each other or ultimately use each other? And I think that's the really tough part, because every time we speak with someone, the reality is a 99% chance that they're not interested in our services unless they've reached out directly to us asking about our services. And I think that's what's really, really tricky, and it's investing in that time. And that's why I think we're going back full circle, or we will, and we're going to see some big changes over the next 3 to 5 years, because social media is dying. It is, as much as I, have leveraged it for, 14, however many years, it is struggling. It's reached capacity.
I was hopeful that groups would really kind of help divide things up a little bit. Instead of having this big mass network, that you'd have groups that would help you stay in touch, and you could be almost like heavily networked in a group, but the groups just don't support that level of activity. The groups just don't work well enough.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. There's too many groups as well. That's the problem. That's why I belong to probably about 500 groups on Facebook. And I have to unfollow all of them because otherwise I'll just get too many notifications. So I think when they first started, it was great. You could go in and you were starting to build nice relationships and stuff. But now there's just too many, and there's just too much noise in them. And people are going in, unless it's I've probably, out of all my 500 groups, it's probably only 3 to 5 which actually I go in for advice or support. All the rest are purely selling, sell. So that just highlights that we're just in a selling business right now. Everybody's selling and not enough people are buying. And I think that's where the problems are starting to stem from.
Yeah. And, social media is one channel. It's one channel. We get a lot of inquiries from our website because we've done it. I know you do. Your website's key to your strategy. It's been driving force behind what you do. Website, you've got PR, you've got email, you've got all of these different angles. And, I would say it's dangerous to kind of just focus on one. Yes, focus on one for a period and get it working and then build another. But to just focus on one channel as your primary model to sell is just, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a lot of controversial things they're saying. Everyone says, oh, do one thing, master it, do really, really well, and then move on to the next thing. But I do believe in having an omni-channel presence. And I also strongly recommend that you create your own assets so that you can control them as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it has been great to catch up with you. Just before we wrap up, what's the best way you want people to get in touch with you if they want to have a chat with you about picking your brains, getting your help with their building out their presence, whether that be online, offline? What's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on LinkedIn and also my website, lilachbullock.com. So that's LILACHBULLOCK.com. I have a plethora of free trainings and resources on my website as well as my newsletter. And yeah, I'm very active online. And they can just Google my name. There's only one Lilach Bullock in the world. So
There's only one.
There's only one. I'm unique.
Well, there's three of me. I found all three of them.
That's so cool.
And one of them looks like me as well. It's really scary.
Wow,
one of them looks like me. It's really
funny.
weird.
Yeah.
So, Lilach, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on. And maybe what we could do is actually dig into and do another one of these in a little while and do it about how did you build your website not from a technical thing, but from how did you help it be so lucrative part of your business? I'd love to kind of get the inside track and share that with people because I think it will be amazing.